Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Welcome once again to the Dr. Sky Experience, heard proudly here on Talk Radio 77 WABC, as we like to say, the incredible powerhouse blowtorch signal of 77 WABC coming to you around the nation and around the world. And I am Steve Cates, Dr. Sky. Welcome to your March 2026 Sky Update. So from each of our radio shows, midnight Fridays to 2 a.m. Saturday, and midnight on Saturday evenings to 2 a.m. Sunday, Eastern Standard Time, we fill you in on the great realms of astronomy, space, aviation, and weather, and so much more. Celebrity guests in the mix, and stories of American exceptionalism. What could be better? Your questions and comments always welcome on what we call Theater of the Mind at 1-800-848-9222. That's 1-800-848-9222. And don't forget, we're proud to be with John Catsimatidis, owner and operator, every Sunday on the Cats Roundtable with great celebrity guests and people in the know from around the world. Don't forget that. If you have a question, I'm always available for your Sky Guide. Remember, I am your navigator on the highway to the heavens. My email is just drsky, as you would expect, drsky at wabcradio.com. So let's get into the big meat of the month of March 2026. So if you're tired, and we certainly empathize with many of you in regions where the snow has been off the charts, to say the least, don't forget, as we begin March, spring begins, and brighter days ahead as we move on to the 20th of March, just a few weeks away, so stay tuned. We begin with the moon, Earth's nearest neighbor, and for the month of March, we have a really special reason to have you look at the moon. Don't forget, the next full moon, this is the month of March 3rd, 6:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the full worm moon. Of course, adjust your time zones across the nation. And don't forget that often dreaded or often liked daylight saving time returns on the morning of Sunday, March the 8th at 2 a.m. Whether you like it or not, the old adage is spring ahead, fall back, so you know what to do. So that beautiful full moon called the full worm moon, full again at 6:38 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, will give us a rather rare event. Another of the so-called total lunar eclipses. That's not so rare, but sometimes referred to as a blood moon because of its intense color. Never did I see one that looked like the color of blood, but more like a Chinese lantern or an incredibly big and beautiful orange pumpkin in the sky. So if you want to see this event for the East Coast, it'll be a kind of a marginal eclipse. So the moon will be at its best, that is during the eclipse, right around 6:25 a.m. Eastern Standard Time if your weather is clear. So the partial phases begin a few hours earlier, so stay tuned. And of course, as you move west, it's really a better eclipse for those in the central and western time zones. And if you'd like to learn more about this and all the events with the moon, the planets, the stars, the galaxies, and etc., it is theskylive.com, theskylive.com. The moon, after it becomes full in eclipse on Tuesday the 3rd, it continues to wane, thus less moonlight, and thus the moon moves on to last quarter phase, right around the 11th of March. Waning, meaning that each morning, less of the visible surface of the moon is visible every month it happens. All to a spectacular new moon, and that takes place on the 18th, just days before the vernal equinox, the beginning of spring on the 20th. Now, the reason I highlight the new moon or the dark of the moon, for many of you listening around the nation and around the world, you know common sense, and this is what it's all about. The bright light of the moon literally washes out many of the faint sky objects that you would probably get to see if you wanted to see these. Obviously, people in darker locations have a better advantage, but what about city dwellers? Yes, this is who we're talking with here, not just those of us that live out in the outback, but everybody listening, in particularly areas like New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago. Don't despair, you can still see some beautiful things in the sky, and I'll be updating that. So the new moon is easily, I should say, the best time to look when the moonlight is not interfering. So by about the 19th or the 20th, look for a thin, waxing crescent just above the sunset line. As we know, days are getting longer. Then the moon moves finally on to its first quarter on the 25th of March. A great time, in my opinion, if you really want to see detail on the moon, whether it's binoculars or a telescope, because right along that sunrise line called the Terminator, you can follow it every single day, and you can get to see the details of craters, valleys, mountains on the moon. And by the way, a trivia statement, there are higher mountains on the moon than there are on the Earth. So if you thought Mount Everest topped the cake, well, it does here on Earth, but on the lunar surface, there are actually a few mountains that ascend well up to 33,000 to 35,000 feet above the lunar surface. And don't forget, on the moon, if you were there, a day on the moon lasts 14 Earth days, and a night on the moon lasts 14 Earth days also. So imagine our explorers who go to the moon. They obviously have to prepare for long longevity of daylight and then long periods of darkness. The Greek word planeteos, wandering stars. We find out that Mercury, which was visible in the western sky through much of February, moves into conjunction by the 7th, meaning it'll transition into the morning sky. Saturn, the planet that of course is gorgeous, even in a telescope, even with its rings nearly edge-on, reaches conjunction with the Sun by the 25th, and then it will, by the end of the year, regress back into the morning sky. So what about planets? What can you see in March? Still, the fan favorite is Jupiter. Zeus, the god of gods. All you do is look literally high up, nearly overhead, at the point of sunset, as this particular giant planet glides through the twins, the zodiac sign of Gemini, the twins. Now well over 450 million miles from the Earth, still a decent object to look at, even in a higher power pair of binoculars. Most definitely the telescope will show you the beautiful moon dance. That's right, moon dance of the Galilean satellites. Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto slide back and forth, sometimes crossing the front of Jupiter and many times being eclipsed by the giant ball of the mighty planet Jupiter. You can check the positions of the Jupiter satellites, the Galileans, by going to Shallow Sky Jupiter. You'll be able to see that, Shallow Sky Jupiter, or once again, theskylive.com. Check in and click on the Jupiter section. Now, here's something really interesting. I want to mention this. For those of you that live in more southern latitudes, you get to see an unusual star. Now, I'm talking about people that live, let's say, south of probably, or the equivalent latitude of Dallas, Texas, and all the way across the United States, Georgia, Florida, all the way, of course, to your Arizona and Southern California. Right around 8 p.m. local time, if you look due south, and if you have a really clear sky, you can get to see the second brightest star in the heavens. Now, wait a minute, Dr. Sky. I thought Sirius, the star in Canis Major, the big dog, was the brightest star in the sky. Well, for those of you that want exactitude, you know the sun is the brightest star in the sky. But in the night, Sirius, the dog star, also visible high in the south at 8 p.m. local time. But for those of you in lower latitudes, look as it hugs the horizon. The second brightest star is a star called Canopus. Not cannabis, but Canopus. It's some 300 light years away. It's an incredible navigation star that many spacecraft have used. So you're seeing it encroaching deeper into the southern hemisphere without having to go down to, say, Australia, where things would be equally impressive. So that star, Canopus, is some 300 light years away. So do the math. The light you see in 2026 left this massive powerhouse star 300 years ago, traveling through space. Fascinating things in the heavens. So get out those binoculars. And you really don't have to have a telescope. And something else, a little tip. We're not selling any of these products, at least not yet, on the Dr. Sky Experience. But let me remind you of something. These digital telescopes right now, what are these? Some of the manufacturers like Dwarf Labs, and there's many, many other good ones out there. You basically get this little $400 or $500 little thing. It looks like a large iPad that's very thick. And what it can do, if you put it on a tripod and sync it to your app, these apps for these different type of devices, you can literally get to see, and it'll find objects in the sky. And this one goes out to our, Bright City light pollution people. With the filters on there, you can actually take incredible images of stars, galaxies, planets, the moon, and even take safe images of the sun. So basically, technology has really moved forward in so many ways. Hope your month is great. Don't forget, no major meteor showers until April with the Lyrids. And we will not see another one of these total lunar eclipses for at least a couple of years, maybe 2.5 to 3 years, visibly good here in North America. I'm Dr. Sky, wishing you the best of health and happiness as we move away from the winter doldrums and the promise of spring. March the 20th, the equinox. The Dr. Sky Experience, proudly on Talk Radio 77, WABC. Listen, as mentioned before, with your comments, questions, and on-air questions. Friday nights midnight to 2 a.m. Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time, then Eastern Daylight Time. And Saturday night, midnight to 2 a.m. Sundays, Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time, when we move past March 8th, 2 a.m., the beginnings of Daylight Saving Time. DRSKY at WABCRadio.com is my particular email. Clear skies, and I'm your navigator on the beautiful highways to the heavens. See you on the radio with your questions at 1-800-848-9222.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.